everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and today I am going to show you how to harvest rice for the purpose of eating that you grew through the summer season. Now, as you can see, this is a pot. I actually planted this the beginning of May. It's a container with no drainage holes. So the rice has thrived in this bog condition through the entire summer season. And now, as you can see, the seed is ripe and it is ready to be harvested. The harvesting process isn't particularly hard, but what you want to make sure of is that you get all of the seed off of the tiny little stalk. You don't want any material like this because that will actually make the threshing process more complicated. So you're going to be relatively careful when you are sliding your finger over the seeds to just get the seeds and try to eliminate that extra little stem. Now, I know you might be thinking, how much rice are you actually going to get from one pot? Well, I think you'll be surprised. It's not going to be that you never buy rice again, but I think it'll be enough, certainly, for one decent meal. And I have multiple containers to be able to harvest from. Well, I don't think that's a bad harvest at all. I got a cup and a half from this one container of Rex rice that I planted in May of 2021, earlier this season. Now, once I get this actually threshed, meaning I get the seed out of the chaff, the volume will drop down just a little bit, and that is actually the next step, but I'm quickly running out of daylight today. So I'll catch up with you tomorrow getting this step accomplished. So let's real quick go over some general terms. The idea of threshing, that's actually just getting the seed to be off of the stalk. So in a big commercial field, they actually, if they're doing this by hand, would cut the stalks down with a sickle and gather them up and then beat the seeds to separate it from the stalk. Now, because I only have a small amount of rice, I'm essentially threshing just in the process of which I'm gathering the seed, which is taking the seed off of the stalk and then off of that secondary stem that the seed is developed on. Now, the next step is de-hulling, and this is definitely the part that's most challenging for home rice growers, because most of us don't actually have the equipment that works for de-hulling rice. The hull is the papery part that the rice itself is covered in. The seed is covered in this papery hull, and to make it edible, you have to get that hull off. Well, it's really difficult. And I can tell you from experience that most of the normal equipment that people have, like as home cooks, doesn't work. So a food processor doesn't do anything. A coffee grinder pulverizes all of it, so that's of no benefit either. One of the easier methods, but it's really painstaking, is to basically put your rice seed down on silicone mats and then roll it with a rolling pin, and slowly but surely that will get at least some of the hull off. You're really still going to be stuck doing a lot with just your fingers, kind of trying to get the hull to be removed. Now, there are rice dehullers that are available online, but I don't grow enough rice to justify buying a special machine for that purpose. Maybe in the future, but realistically, no. Like, the reason I primarily grow rice is because it's something different. It does really well here, and I don't even grow it in the ground anymore because I prefer just to grow it in pots, collect the seeds, save the seeds so I can grow it again the next season. I've kind of lost interest in trying to grow it for the purpose of eating, simply because the dehulling process is so difficult. But today I want to show you my threshing machine that my husband built primarily for wheat and barley, and I want to see if it'll work on the rice seed. Now, after you dehull the seed, then you have to winnow. And winnowing is just the process of getting that chaff to blow away, so what you're left with is just the rice seed. And small quantities like this, you can actually do it just by blowing on it. But you could also use a fan, just fashion a fan. Usually I use a box fan, and I have someone turn the bucket over, and the box fan blows the chaff away, and the seed, because it's heavy, will fall into another bucket, and what you're left with is clean seed. But let's go see if my homemade thresher will actually work on this tiny amount of wheat or of rice. Usually with wheat, we can fill a 3-gallon bucket 10 or 11 times. With the rice, it's so small that it doesn't even really fill the entire bottom of a 3-gallon bucket. So this is just going to be a good experiment for all of us, and we'll see where it leads us. So the homemade thresher is comprised of a 3-gallon paint bucket, a lid in which a hole has been drilled, this modified drill bit. So this is obviously attached to a cordless drill, and it's a giant rod, and it has a few pieces of chain link on you know, 2 parts of it. Now with wheat and barley, the seed will fill the entire bucket. With the rice, I literally only have a cup and a half of seed, so it's only going to be this bottom part that, you know, twirls around and hopefully will beat the chaff so the seed will come out. Again, I haven't done it with rice, so this is a good learning experience for us all to have together. All right, you can see it's not a lot of seed. Now I'm just going to put the lid on and beat it around for a few minutes. Doesn't look like anything's happened so far. Doesn't look like anything was accomplished at all. Basically, the seed is still 100% encased in the hull. It didn't work at all. So I am still at square one with no answers for how to get it from this stage to the edible stage without buying a special piece of equipment. Well, I poured it back in, and you can see there's a few pieces where the hull did come off, and what you see is, you know, what you would recognize as rice seed. But for the most part, the hulls are very much still intact. Well, I'm gonna harvest the last 2 pots of the Rex rice that I planted this year. I was reminding myself that I didn't plant any of this rice for the purpose of eating, because really I would need to have planted a lot more. My goal was to use this as a seed crop, and I think in order to make my thresher work, I have to have this bucket significantly more full. I just don't have enough seed to really use it. Now there are machines that you You can buy online that aren't terribly expensive that would actually dehull your seed and make it ready to be eaten. I just don't have enough to justify buying another piece of machinery. Next year I'll have better ambitions, I'll grow more, and then I'll be able to like fully justify the experience for growing it, harvesting it, and then processing it for the purpose of eating. But for this year, I'm just gonna kind of be satisfied with what I get to be able to save to grow out next year, because yeah, rice was actually really hard to find, and I don't know that that'll be any different next season. So I think it's good for me just to have the seed as a resource for growing again next season and give it a try then. So I'm gonna undo these last two pots, and I'm gonna get this package to store in the refrigerator over the winter season, and I will start planting rice again next May. So I look forward to a new growing season of rice to share with all of you, and I hope you'll be inspired to grow some next season as well. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This is what I ended up getting from 3 pots of Rex rice. And it's just not enough for my thresher to work on. So I'm gonna save the seed to grow next season and grow more rice so next year I can grow it for eating purposes.